can stop them if we lock up the thugs. See what they did to all the kids, got them growing up on drugs. They dependent, they get offended if you tell them they're wrong, because weed and cocoa seed make them feel like they strong. Cutting school just like the fools just to smoke up cocaine. It's insane, destroying their brains and they don't wanna change. Ain't no joke, they cannot cope if they do not have dope. Drugs are told, now in control the kids feel there's no hope. Hesitate, hallucinate when they OPCP. Some are needy, the one that's greedy always seem to OD from this stuff. It's getting rough, school is far from their mind. Don't get scared, just get prepared for the destruction of mankind. The destruction of mankind is right before your eyes, and you can see it unless you blind. The destruction of mankind is right before your eyes, and you can see it unless you blind. The destruction of mankind is right before your eyes, and you can see it unless you blind. Yes, the answer to cancer should be the well-grade fuss, but the solution to pollution is within each of us. We make smoke that make us choke, distribute it anywhere. It destroys, but it employs, so we do not care. Can't believe that what we breathe is hazardous to our health. Let me tell, when we inhale, it may be our last breath. For cash, we will dump trash in the lake, it won't think. Later on, we will go home and this water we drink. Not just me, he or she, but our sisters and brothers. It is done, poison our sons, daughters, fathers, and mothers. Getting too deep, the whistle me, the end of our time. I'm for real, for all this is the destruction of mankind.
Can somebody help me? Can somebody help me to understand why man's destroying man?
The destruction of mankind is right before your eyes, and you can see it unless you blind. The destruction of mankind is right before your eyes, and you can see it unless you blind. The destruction of mankind is right before your eyes, and you can see it unless you blind.
You can see it unless you're blind. Yeah.
Thinking of making love, well listen to this. Romance, it is a chance, your life is at a risk. Sex to pleases, but it diseases have claimed many of lives. I am pissed, cause syphilis left some paralyzed. Could not move, but then improve, but they still did not learn. Went for thrills, called gonorrhea, now from this they burn. It is sad, for sex got back in the last 2 decades. Killing most, from coast to coast, is the new one called AIDS. You die soon, with no immune system to heal when you ill. Put the rest, because of sex, man, what is the deal? Cannot be, it's hard to see how the sex get this worse. Here it is titled, the book, the Bible, probably call it a curse. It's a shame, who can we blame? Sex, it should be a crime. Can't you tell, sex just like hell, the destruction of mankind.
Oh, can't you see? Can't you see? Hey.
The destruction of mankind is right before your eyes, and you can see it unless you blind. The destruction of mankind is right before your eyes, and you can see it unless you blind. The destruction of mankind is right before your eyes, and you can see it unless you blind. Sexually transmitted diseases is soaring at an enormous rate. Statistics shows that by the year 2020, 1 out of every 50,000 Americans will be affected with the HIV virus, which is the virus that causes AIDS. Also over the same time period, 1 out of every 10,000 Americans would know someone that is infected or has died of AIDS. This past weekend in Chicago, the death of 10 people was the result of AIDS-related illness. This is why I say that more funding is greatly needed for the education and prevention of sexually transmitted diseases and the prevention of the destruction of mankind.